How
Plan
about
losing
raw berry?
his Dementia.
I don't like talking about political stuff, Chris. That's
Well, we got to.
I
Prob-
read the first chapter of the Law to Scotty. Just
How
a little bit.
Poor Scotty. I'm sorry, buddy.
I
I'm sorry, bud.
was getting him riled up. What are you talking about?
Well, it's weird because what was that? 1850s.
Yeah, he
we're
brought
dealing
it
with
up
the
to
same
me. He brought it up to me. He's talking about how fun paying taxes and healthcare and stuff is, and I was like, "Let me read something to you."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that was in the 1850s, and we're still dealing with the same nonsense that they were
Yep.
talking about, that Bastiat was talking about back then.
Dude was on point, borderline prophet right there.
Yeah, he was. Among Us. So, you know what? I'm going to do it this time. Are we recording?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, okay, cool. How you doing? How was your week?
I'm good, man.
Fantastic.
It was a lot of fun. We went and hung out this weekend down in Helen, Georgia, little Bavaria land down there.
Mount St. Helens, Georgia?
Yeah, Mount St. Helens, Georgia.
Good.
It was fun. It was interesting because you get yeah, that's good. We get in there and you've got Bavaria land going on, and every once in a while, Georgia would just sneak back in there. You're like getting lost in the immersion of Bavaria land, and all of a sudden,
Trump flag.
oh boy, there was it wasn't Trump flags, but it was just like outlaw country and like the food and beer selection a lot of times was like, you're in Georgia.
Georgia's a very interesting place. Like, depends on where you're at in Georgia. Like, it changes. We've got some family that they've got a cabin in the mountains of Georgia on one of is it the Ocoee River? And, like, that's a whole different section of folks that like to hang out in the river. They've got, I mean, they're most of them are pretty wealthy. They got nice houses and stuff, like, right on the river and stuff. And then, like, you're driving around and everything is about the river. Like, you've got, kayaks, and you've got like little river boats and
Fishing
stuff, and
guides and stuff.
yeah, and then so it's this whole. But then you go a couple miles down the other direction, and you're like in a completely different. So it's weird. It's neat because depending on where you're going, you get, and you would I would never know that it was there. There's a whole. That's down where the Olympics were several years ago, where they have the Olympic kayaking or whatever they do down there.
Whitewater course and all
There
that.
you go. Yeah, the whitewater.
Yeah.
And that was so. That's super cool. Their place is so and they've been asking us to go out there for years, and we finally went, and I wish we would have been doing it this entire time. But they've got there's this dock that goes out into the river, and it was pretty neat. Well, the first time I looked at the dock, it was curved, and it literally was curved, and it kind of sunk down a little bit, and I noticed it wasn't exactly straight. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. So I got down and I was looking at the dock, and my uncle and my aunt, like that whole side of the family is just so inventive. Like they make stuff work. One of the coolest things, it's a 3-story cabin, and so you got the ground floor,
I saw
which
pictures
is
of
the
that.
basement. Yeah,
Yeah, you showed us some pictures from the drone over that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I would have been better at my drone. I'll get better pictures next time we go. But
They were great. You did good.
But well, thanks. Well, anyway, we got there and we backed up, and he swings his pulley out like over the second floor banister, and he's got a full pulley. So you basically, this pulley, that the hook comes down, and then you hook your luggage up on it, and then somebody up top just pulls it up. Like
Snatch blocks.
Yeah, it's freaking great. And that's what got me talking to him about snatch blocks and 3D printing. So I actually remember the snatch blocks and stuff that we printed. I actually sent those to him. I was trying to explain it to him, and he kept looking at me because he's a little bit older, brilliant guy though. And he just, so I actually a couple weeks later when we got back, printed out those pulleys and snatch blocks, and I sent them to him. He was absolutely thrilled with them.
Cool.
But anyway,
I look forward to seeing how he uses them. That'd be good.
He is, and again, it's like the whole one man's trash is someone else's treasure. The man's an inventor. Like, really, he is. Like, he's an electrician by trade, but the stuff that they find to use and the ways that they use it is just, it's absolutely amazing. Like, it blows my mind.
So he's not he's not just a scrounger. He's a MacGyver.
Oh yeah, total MacGyver, absolutely.
That's cool.
And the stuff that and it's not like rigged. Like, when you look at it, you're like, wow, like it looks like it came out of a factory somewhere.
There's no baling wire and bubble gums.
No, it all works. It all works, and it's put together well, and it's just cool. But so I'm looking at this dock, and this dock kind of curves away into the water because the water's coming from, if you're standing looking at it, it's going from left to right. So the dock curves from left to right. And sure enough, I get down, look at this dock, I'm inspecting it. And it was funny because he walked down like right when I was doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at the dock and I was like,
just trying to figure it out. He could see the confusion.
well, he could see the gears working, right?
Yeah.
And I turned around and looked at him. I said, did you build this on a down tree? And he goes, sure did. And I said, that is absolutely brilliant. And he says, why is that? And I said, well, number one, your tree, it's super strong because the tree was about, it was a good, using my hands, 1.5 feet in diameter, probably more. And then the whole entire root base was still in the ground. So it had upended and they had reburied it. And so the entire root base is still in the ground. And all these, so my next question was, I was looking at it, and the next thing that I learned was that the water in that particular part of the river, they raise it and lower it. And so if you've never been, I don't know, I know you've been kayaking or whatever before, but if you've never been kayaking, or there's managed waterways around the country that if they raise the river, it changes the properties of the river. If they lower it, it changes the properties.
Locks and dams and all that stuff.
Well, the interesting part about that particular river is as they lower the water, when the water gets low, there's more rocks and there's more rapids and there's more stuff to play in. And when they raise it, you get less. It's more smooth, right? So it's just different. And so it's used for different things during different times of the day.
Speeds and stuff like that for the rapids.
Yeah. So what was really interesting was as they raised the river, it completely engulfed the dock. So it was, I don't know why, but as a kid, it's always been a dream of mine to walk out on a completely submerged dock, and it came up to about my knees. But you're able to walk out in the dock, but because of the strength of the tree and the way they built it, that dock could be completely submerged. So they didn't have to worry about the thing floating up and down all the time because it was just submerged itself when they raised the river, and it was there when the river went down. It was perfect.
Plus, it's not like they were mooring boats there long term either or nothing, right? It's not.
It's for going out, jumping in your kayaks and playing.
It's good. It just needs to be the right water level during spring and summer when you're going out there to do your thing.
Well, and it's funny, they would raise and lower the water every day.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah, there was an app that my aunt had where they would
could track it.
Yeah, it's the NCAO or something. I can't remember what it was, but they would, then they would say roughly when they would let the water out. And the coolest part was because they were so far downriver, like it's mind blowing for me to think about.
Now, is this the one?
I'm a dumb.
Are you talking about Georgia still, or are you talking about the one?
No, this is Georgia. So they would release the water, right? They would change the water levels, and then when they changed the water levels, they would send out an app warning to everybody to let them know. But because of the distance, it was like 2.5, 3 hours before the water level rise where they were at. So you get the app, and then just the thought pattern of hours away, somebody made a change that's now doing something to your land. And then it was funny because like the one time we were out there, we weren't paying attention. They've got a little island out in front of there. It's really one of the only islands there, really. We went a couple miles on this thing, and there wasn't. But we were sitting out on the little island, and there's like a little sandbar and stuff like that. Like it was super cool. And then all of a sudden we looked down, and like I noticed my butt was getting wet because I was sitting in a chair. All of a sudden my butt got wet, and I looked over, and all of a sudden the water's moving faster. And I'm like, gotta go in.
Gotta go.
You know?
Yeah, it's interesting because just down here local to us, there was some really nasty flooding not long ago. A whole campsite got swept away in the middle of the night. And they've got a locks and dams close to there that controls a lot of water flow. And those guys that are there had to like make this kind of judgment based on they had to let out enough water to keep from the dam being damaged and potentially getting washed out completely and destroyed.
Right.
So they had to weigh that against letting out this water that they knew was going to do damage downstream. That's a heck of a thing.
Now, were they able to warn the people before they let the dam go?
I think they were, but you got people asleep in a campground.
Yeah,
so
that's
kind of rough.
Yeah, it's how do you? Yeah, somebody was telling me a story. I know who it was. I'm just not telling his name. I'm not gonna out him. Was telling me that the folks that got washed away, like there was a big community. We live in such a cool community around here. We really do. There was a big community outpouring that a lot of the folks that came out and they helped those folks. Everybody got their campers replaced. Everybody got like a bunch of money, like 6 figures worth of money to help them. Like so everybody that got injured or their property damage or whatever, they got completely funded. Like that's
really cool.
most of the people want to move back to campground. It's like, and they're trying to explain to them. They're like, but you realize this is going to happen again. They're like, well, we don't. This is just where we want to live. We don't have no other life, you know. And I guess it's kind of like
at first I was like, oh, sweet, and then I was like, son of a.
But I mean, I guess, you know, and again, I guess that the heartfelt.
I mean, you like the people that had everything happen with Katrina and everything. It's like,
yeah.
Part of me's like, man, I really feel for those folks that lost everything, lost loved ones, all that stuff went down there. But then again, you did build a city. Okay.
And yeah, what do you do? Evacuate the entirety of Louisiana, you know?
Yeah.
So talking about Katrina, did you ever see those videos?
I was just talking about that town and the way the flood walls are made and everything around it. It's built in like a very precarious area.
Right.
When you're talking about how the hydraulics of the area go.
Well, tell the Dutch, man. That's funny. You start talking about Switzerland and stuff, right? And those guys are like, there's like global warming. We'll just build the walls higher. I mean, we're already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
Was it the thumb or the
we
finger?
Just alienated
and the dike?
Literally none of our subscribers by making a joke about the Dutch.
No, they're good. But yeah, anyway, so I thought that was pretty interesting. Hopefully they'll get squared away there.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Helen, Georgia. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump all over you.
No, it's cool.
Helen
was fun.
Georgia's a cool place. Like there's a lot of cool stuff down there.
We did some cool stuff there. Had a bunch of good food. You know me, I don't go anywhere unless I eat good. And then we did an escape room. That was fun.
Nice.
But yeah, we had a great time.
Did you escape?
Yeah, we got out. What was it? 39 and change. We made it out. Yeah.
Nice.
So we did good.
I know it wasn't your first. Was it your first, Scotty?
Yep.
Yeah? How'd you feel?
Yeah, I liked it.
Cool. It's funny because like for the longest time when I started hearing about escape rooms, I get nervous because the original ones like that Tom was telling us about and stuff were like super creepy.
Super scary.
There was one out in Winston.
Claustrophobic.
That was like, it was like a zombie apocalypse and you were in a jail and you were like chained up in like this box. And he was talking about, I'm just telling the story.
Had you separated. I was there. I went to that one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a trip, man.
Because, and apparently they let you out of this box.
They had live actors too.
Right. And there's people chasing you around. So think of like a haunted forest or whatever, haunted woods, right? Something like that. Or just one of the.
So like that one starts you out. You're like in the office of this laboratory. And you're going
laboratory?
Through. Yeah. And like the apocalypse has kicked off. And there's like noises outside and everything, and you're just kind of trapped in there.
March of 2020?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you're in this office and you're trying to figure out a way to get out, and eventually you make it to some air ducts, and you're crawling out through air ducts. On you, spoiler alerts, if you ever go to this obscure thing that probably doesn't exist.
It was years ago. It's not even there.
In an old decrepit strip mall in Winston-Salem.
But spoiler alert, crawling out of air ducts? Nope, I'm out.
Yeah. So the air duct, right, is like the sides of it are just black plastic, and you're crawling out through, and it's dark. It's like you have to have a electronic candlelight to go through. The roof of the air duct is made out of chain link vents. So the whole time, all these actors that they have acting like zombies are making noises, slapping the side of the thing, rattling the chain link, even like taking little cups with
Scotty's noping out. I can see from here.
They got little cups of water. And of course, they disclose that this is a possibility, but they got little cups of water, and they'll make like retching sounds and just kind of sling it at you.
Nice.
Oh, it's such a mess. And you get out of the air duct, and you're in this like cage. You have to figure out that you have to do some like Apache code breaking or something to get out of the cage, and then you've got to run for your life to get out of there. It's a trip. But it was a lot of fun. But escape rooms run the gambit on things that have really high production value, and they go to great lengths to make it almost like theatrical experience, to things that are just simply game mechanics, cerebral, and everything in between. It's a lot of fun. I think they're the one that you all went to with us was themed around Gravity Falls, right? Or you went there after we went there?
We went there after there. Yeah.
Because I was like, y'all gotta go check it out. It's Gravity Falls.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. That was a lot of fun because we got there. We went a week after y'all did. That was
That's a good balance though between the game mechanics and the immersion, though, right?
Right.
With that one, and that's the sweet spot for me, is finding one where the game mechanics aren't just there for the sake of game mechanics.
Right.
right? There's some kind of narrative purpose to it, but
And there's some ones that like they're a little bit fun, but you end up like unlocking 17,000 locks
and red herrings and stuff. And
There's-
that's what I mean by the game mechanics.
Yeah.
It's just like there's one it was like an Egyptian tomb or something.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's got like a combination lock with directions and colors, and you're sitting there like, in the Egyptian tomb, really?
right.
So I mean, you got to kind of suspend your disbelief a little bit and just enjoy it while you're there. But whenever the ones come around where you don't have to do that,
Yeah.
they really shine.
Yeah, there's one up in up the mountain here and they change it out all the time, but it was you go in and
That's right. We did do one with you guys up
Yeah.
in Blowing Rock or Boone or something, right?
Yeah, and it was it was your uncle and he had left the mansion to you or
inheritance,
something.
yeah.
And you were trying to find it, and like the special effects, turns out the guy that ran the place, him and his wife, did special effects. Like that was their thing.
Yeah.
And you remember that because it was like
They did a great job.
it was over the top, man. Like
Yeah.
like the power, like remember the electrical panel and like all the stuff. Like you go to grab stuff and it would shock and bark, and everything moved, and everything was like movie quality effects. Like it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, that was our weekend for the most part.
But I used to be terrified of the thought because Tom
Yeah.
told the story, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and then for the longest time we were trying to
Dude,
do.
if
You
you
guys
had-
still need to do it.
If you got like any fear of like claustrophobia or anything, that one like that, nope, just nope right
Well,
out of that.
And the one we did up, we did one up in Ash County, which was pretty cool. And it was a baseball theme one, but they would change them all around and stuff. And that was all, of course, it was baseball, so it was all numbers, right?
Yeah.
But it was really cool. But one of the things the lady said was when we walked inside, so a couple things, their monitoring system, like her monitoring system, was fantastic. She had a little screen up there, so when you were in and you were kind of wandering around doing the thing, she could hear everything that you were doing in the room. She could see the room from multiple angles, and she could type to you on the screen answers and questions and stuff. So every now and
Yeah.
again,
Hey,
like
if
she
you
was,
check this.
so you just kind of look
Yeah.
up and then, but she was there watching you the entire time.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat. But one of the first things she said when we walked in, we asked, we said, you know, is this a really, because I think that was the first one we did, maybe, no, but we said something about escape room, and she looked at us and she says, you know, it is, but if you want me to leave the doors open so you're more comfortable, that's fine too. And we're like, you know what? No, we're good. You can shut the doors. But that was a cool
That was
concept.
pretty
Like,
sweet. Yeah.
yeah,
that
it was a
sweet
cool
of her.
concept. And the Gravity Falls girl too.
Very
She said the
thoughtful.
same thing.
Yeah.
And I want to go back down to Asheville and do that one because that one was absolutely fantastic. And she was wonderful too. The owners were great.
I checked on that one just recently to see what was up with it. They're still doing the Gravity Falls. They're not calling it Gravity Falls.
Well, they can't do that.
Obviously.
They'll get sued into
They'll get
obsolescence.
Disney'd. But it's
Oh yeah, we got to talk about Disney.
it's something like the roadside attraction or something like that. But they're still doing that one. They're still doing the submarine one. I don't know if you guys did that one while you were down there, but they had a good one that was like a sub base escape
good?
or something. Yeah, it was really good. And they had another one that was a secret lab or something like that. They're doing away with the secret lab, and they're in the process of building a new one. So you guys still have the sub one to go through, which I recommend. Not as good as Gravity Falls, but still pretty good. I don't want to say really good. It's very, very good. You
Okay.
know? But subject matter notwithstanding. The one that they're working on now, they didn't release any details or anything about it, but I'm interested. The best escape room, in my opinion, that I've been to so far was over in Pigeon Forge, and it was called Cryptology, and I think they're out of business now because of the COVID stuff.
Oh, that's a bummer, dude.
Yeah, it's a big bummer. So we did a couple rooms there, and one of them that they did, and I know I've told you about this before, so just play along.
No, that was good. I
Um,
want to hear a story again. I probably forgot.
But it was based.
I'm like the president. I have dementia.
Yeah, it was the Da Vinci room, they called it, and it was a whole room based around that you're an archaeologist, and you've found this new uncovered area of Venice, and you're digging through, and you discover what you find out later is the like secret lab of Leonardo da Vinci. And apparently before this thing was covered or whatever happened with it, he had been training an apprentice and had set up a final test for his apprentice. So there they set the narrative for all of the puzzles you would encounter right off the bat.
That's cool.
Because, like, if a madman is going to kidnap you and eat you for dinner, he's not going to give you a billion puzzles to finally make your way out. But if your mentor is trying to test your skills and knowledge,
right,
he would.
He might, yeah.
So narratively, it made good sense that way. But then when it got to the puzzles, they did all kinds of really clever things with the history of Da Vinci and art history and stuff like that. So there were parts of it where you had to, and you could figure out some of them, but you had to look at different paintings by Da Vinci and put them on the wall according to the title of the painting. And you had to kind of match them that way. So you had to know a little bit. And then they had other things that were like Da Vinci was ambidextrous, but he could also write fluently forwards and backwards. So there was one puzzle where you had to use the mirror to read his letter to you, and a lot of other stuff like that. There wasn't like silly locks and stuff that you would only see in the current age.
It was contextual.
Yeah, they did a really good job with that stuff, and
Yeah.
I really appreciated the extra effort. Plus, when we went to do it, we didn't have to share the room with anybody. So like a lot of times you get another party that you get grouped up with,
Right.
and it was just me, Tracy, the room. It was a hoot.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Context is important, and I don't know. I'm a pretty friendly guy, but
Oh yeah.
I like just hanging out with my family too, especially when we're doing something like that.
Well, and having another group there can be fun, but then there's part of you that's trying not to cross boundaries with people. You're like, hey, you really need to check that a little bit better, and you don't want to be that guy, right?
Right.
And then other parts, you're like, man, we keep getting stumped on this one part. You looked under the bed, right? You
Right.
looked under the bed,
And you start
right?
getting all
You
like-
looked under the bed,
Yeah.
and then you look under the bed, and there's like, dude, really?
Right.
So-
and you can't beat them like you beat your own children, so it's not
What?
okay. What?
What?
No, it's not. No.
So how was your weekend?
It was good, dude. Oh my gosh.
Did you all do an escape room too?
Yeah, pretty
Of
much.
sorts?
Yeah. I do an escape room every time I lock myself in the bathroom sometimes. That's part of the problem.
It is known.
But yeah, I just forget where I am, and I have to look up at the teleprompter and say, where am I? Where am I going? I'm going to lose track.
What a pleasure for your family.
Yeah, I know. It's good. So my youngest turned 10 this weekend.
Great.
And
Happy birthday.
that's right. And was it Thursday night decided on a theme and decided on, I don't care, Among Us. Right. So anyway, we had an Among Us party on Sunday, and we had a bunch.
Explain Among Us for the uninitiated.
If you don't know what Among Us is by this point, seriously. Among Us is a really cool internet game. I think it came out in like 2018, maybe a little bit earlier. I think it was 2018. It's a multiplayer game where you have there's up to 10 players, and the idea is it's kind of a whodunit murder mystery sort of game. But they're really cute little dudes. I don't know. They might be dudettes. Who knows? Or they might be theys.
Meeples.
There's really cute little theys. Okay.
Kind of little meeples.
Yeah, and basically, as a player, you got to run around and you do a bunch of tasks. Meanwhile, there's an imposter who looks like you but is not one of you, who's running around trying to secretly kill you all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much what it is.
Figure out who the imposter is and jettison them into space.
That's right. And what's fun is like, and we play it with friends on Discord. So it's kind of neat because you get with your friends or whatever, and basically what happens is when you think you figured out who the imposter is, you call an emergency meeting, or if you find a dead body, you call an emergency meeting, and it's Survivor style. You got to vote somebody out of the airlock.
Well, the concept's been around for a while. You've got Trouble in Terrorist Town. There were a bunch of Gary's Mods games that did that sort of stuff. You've got you have the werewolf game that you guys play. I can't remember the name of it.
One Night Werewolf.
One Night Werewolf.
Oh, that game is fantastic.
There's
I love that game.
There's a Spyfall game, same kind of
I knew you were gonna
concept.
say
The
Spyfall.
murder game.
Yeah.
All of those sorts of games like that where there's somebody who is disguised as one of us who's going around offing people, and you got to figure out who it is before they get you.
For what it's worth, that werewolf game, Ubisoft.
All of them have their own hooks, right? But
Ubisoft did a VR version of that werewolf game.
really,
Yeah, but I mean, again, how many people? You need 10 people to play. How many people do you know actually have VR rigs? So whatever. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe you know a lot. You can get the You can get the Facebook only
It's getting,
Oculus 2, right?
dude. They're like $299.
Yeah.
For the Oculus 2, and they've
you-
already announced the Oculus 3.
If you don't Gina Carano yourself off of social media, you just got to be super careful about that.
Is that your segue?
No, I'm
wanna
not there yet.
okay.
We'll get there though, because I
Alright.
do. I was I was watching some stuff. We'll get back to that. Because I was
Okay.
watching some stuff in there.
Did you watch her interview with that
I haven't yet.
Shapiro?
I haven't yet.
Yeah, that
Because she's
was pretty
working for Ben
interesting.
Shapiro now. Like I think she moved over there, which
Yep.
is good. And I think for me,
What's the name of their studio? Do you remember the name of? They
uh,
mentioned it in the interview a couple times. It's not important. Let's get back to Among Us. I'm sorry.
No. Well, see now you got me talking about it. We can go back to it. So basically, no. So I'm gonna look up the Ben Shapiro studio now. Anyway, the basically what frustrated me, and I started thinking about this the other day, is you got to be if you're gonna. Everybody can have their own rules, okay?
Mhm.
So we talked a little bit before about the difference between freedom of speech, right, which is the government coming down on you, and we talked about Disney, for example, having the right to fire employees for saying things, okay?
Freedom of association.
I feel like we're kind of splitting hairs at this point because freedom of speech, the spirit of freedom of speech is like, hey, we as the government setting the example, we're not going to fire you for talking. You can talk. You can do whatever you want to do. You can assemble. You can be with a bunch of folks, like whatever you do. As long as you're not violent, as long as you're not inciting violence, we're not going to do anything about it. So I feel like in the original concept of it, the government is setting the example of this is how we want y'all to be as well, right? So as long as society supports that, freedom of speech really, it's a top-down way of making sure freedom of speech is alive. Because this is how, and this goes all the way back to Greek era, like Plato saying discourse is how we solve things, right? So if going back to the in your example with the escape room, if you can't tell that other family, hey, look under the flipping bed, right? Look under the bed. Did you look under the bed? If you can't say that, everybody's standing there just watching that person saying, okay, just waiting for them to look under the bed, right? Because there's some sort of social rule that says you're not allowed to say something like that, right? So that doesn't get us anywhere. That's the problem, is we can't figure problems out if we're not able to have social discourse.
If we can't call out stupid ideas for being stupid ideas, then we never convince people that they're stupid ideas.
And again, the greatest way of flushing out stupid ideas is to let people talk.
Yeah.
Right? Because then you can go, hey, man, you know what? That's a really dumb idea, and here's why. You could do it nicely, too. You can say, hey, so explain this to me. Like, why do you feel this way, sort of thing. And there's nice ways to do it, but that is, it's paramount. Paramount, tantamount. Those are the two words I was trying to crush together. But it is the pinnacle of our free society is being able to talk things through. Because if you can't talk things through, like I'm having trouble right now, if you cannot talk things through, what happens? Violence, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you have. So monkey can't speak, monkey smash. Like that's what, when you see animals get frustrated, they start smashing things.
When you keep people from having discourse, you make other forms of communication inevitable.
That's right. In our
and
ability,
if you really want to drive people into their groupthink, ostracize them.
And our ability to talk to each other is really what elevates us above the animal kingdom, I think. And that gives us the special ability to logically rationalize things out with each other. And frankly, I would rather have a heated argument with somebody than it ever come to blows, right? Like I think that is the pinnacle of society, is if we never get to blows.
I'd rather us have fleshed it out as far as it can go and to simply get to a point where we say, you know what? We have different principles in this that keep us from coming to any common ground, but at least we understand each other a little more. Have a nice day.
Right. So that has to be the word equitable you're hearing everywhere today. Like, and I'm not even going to talk about it, but in Boston today or yesterday, they just, a school board just shut down a bunch of what they would call high track students from like 4th to 6th grade, because so basically these were kids that were excelling in their grades. They were doing really, really well, and they were almost bored with the material. So they said, you know what, we're going to take you, we're going to put you in like an honor roll style program, and we're going to let you work on harder stuff, right? To challenge them a bit more.
Sounds like some bourgeoisie stuff right there.
So they shut it down because it was not equitable.
Yep.
And they wanted to be
they were getting preferential treatment.
they wanted to be unracially biased because, and what the superintendent said was that it was something like 80% of the kids in the track were white and Asian, but 80% of the school was African American and Hispanic. And they said, well, we're going to shut this down because it's racist. So anyway, the term equitable is where I'm going at with this, because I got frustrated a little bit today because I was watching some videos and doing some reading and stuff, and of course I'm a big fan.
They were saying fairness for a long time, and then they eventually had to abandon the whole fairness concept because fair does not always equal.
Yeah,
right?
Equal is not fair and fair is not equal.
Yeah.
Right. So
now they're getting equitable now.
Equitable is now the
okay.
word.
That's the
So
buzzword.
I'm using the term equitable now because we have to be equitable, right, with folks.
Yeah.
And when I look at Disney and what Disney did, and I'm getting a little less nervous about talking about this because I'm becoming more frustrated.
I can't help but notice the shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, that was totally not on purpose. Because and you know what, that's a really good point. I'm going to make myself a note because I want to make sure I get back to that. Yeah. Because one of the things I want to say is Disney is full of really good people. There's a lot of really good people there.
No doubt.
Just like some of the other companies we've worked with or dealt with, there's a lot of good people there. And the actions and decisions of some of those in leadership, because our leadership is it's completely misused anymore. Anybody with a high title is leader now, which is utterly ridiculous. You have to actually display some sort of leadership qualities, I think, to be called a leader.
Yep.
And we don't have
you have to have
very many leaders.
Qualifications.
Right. And so look at look at federal government and say, well, these people are supposed to be the ones setting the example and having the gold star.
Between the two of us, we got so many anecdotes that we could go through.
So anyway, so as an aside, I love Disney.
Yeah.
I love Disney as an experience. I love the work that they do. Yeah. I mean, you can't get away from, all the stuff, like I've got Disney Star Wars shirt going on, right? And like going to Galaxy's Edge was just utterly amazing. We got to do that.
I still haven't been yet.
Dude, we literally, it was a week before the pandemic we went. It was perfect timing. Anyway, they do great stuff. So I'm not mad at Disney, right? Like I'm not angry at Disney because they've got a couple bad actors that are making some bad ideas. I don't mean actors like Gina.
I know what you mean.
But the frustration that I have is because I was still been reading about it. So Gina got in trouble.
You went down the rabbit hole, huh?
Gina got in trouble for comparing our society right now to Nazi Germany, right? And apparently that's not okay anymore. It's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
it is when you're condemning Republicans. Then you can call them Nazis,
so that's,
Chris.
That's the equitable part, right? Because Pedro Pascal actually compared America to Germany back in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
But Pedro Pascal is perfectly fine. So, of course, the first thing in my mind is...
It's not what you say. It's from what platform you're saying it
the
from.
first thing in my mind is... The first thing that came to my mind was, that's not fair. It's not equitable, right? Because you've got one person saying one thing, and just
it's a double standard.
Just because you disagree with him, you're like, well, you're being punished, but this guy over here is not being punished. And what he showed, and you can look it up, but he literally said, #This is America, and it showed people, he's comparing people in concentration camps to people in...
being detained at the border?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that is awful. Both states are awful.
Both accounts, yeah.
But I think what Gina called out was also awful. Both states were awful, right? What folks were doing to other folks in back then in Germany was terrible, and I think what folks are doing to each other today is terrible.
Yeah.
I think what she was calling out was a slippery slope, just like what Pedro's calling out. Here's the thing: they both have valid points, right? And this is part of the discourse thing: is we have to talk about these points. You have to raise your hand and say, you know what, I was wondering about this.
And posts like Pedro put out, and posts like Gina put out, are things that should start those conversations.
Because
it should be an attention getter.
If anybody's thinking that we're getting close to that level of fascism, doggone it, I want to be talking about it, because you know what? I don't want to live there.
We need to nip that in the bud.
And I don't want to leave that for our children to deal with, right? Yeah. So the fact that the overall social cue right now is, shut them down. That's first of all, it's utterly ridiculous. The fact that anybody says anything that you don't agree, that if anybody says something you don't agree with and you're like, shut them down, quiet them, that's a problem. Like, we need to talk about that. Like, that's a problem, right? But the equity of it, right, is as you said, right, Pedro came out on the left, which is interesting because it's funny.
Well,
It's not a left or right thing.
He has clearly identified himself within that camp.
But
and Gina has clearly identified herself within an opposing camp.
But like it's not even a left or right thing, and that's the crazy part is you're looking at because you're looking at this thing as a humanitarian thing, right? And the weird thing is if he would have posted this in 2015 or 2014.
Oh, now you're meddling,
right? So because these concentration camps,
it was a different administration then, Chris.
Yeah, right. So, but this is a it really is a humanitarian thing that needs to be talked about. Anyway, so that got me frustrated.
Well, he could have said that back then and still probably been okay. But if he would have said that back then and have identified previously with the other side of the political spectrum, he would have definitely got canceled.
So what's happening is you're literally telling one side to hush, right? And what's going to happen when you tell one side to hush?
Shut up and let the adults talk. Shut up and color.
We spent time at Gettysburg, right? I'm going to spend time in Boston here soon, right? Same thing. You know, Bastiat's talking about the French. Like when you tell people to be quiet and you remove their opportunity to use their words. Like think about your children.
Yep.
Use your words instead of beating something, right? Use your words. That's what we teach our kids. Yet now as adults we're saying you can't use your words anymore. Well, as long as you agree with me, then it's fine. But if you don't agree with me, you can't use your words.
Bastiat setting this, when he wrote that back in 1850, it was at this interesting point, and it's fresh in my mind because we were just talking about this earlier. It was 70 years, roughly, after the American Revolution, and it was just after the French Socialist Revolution.
Right.
So, dude had some insights.
Yeah, he did. Well, he's living through it.
It was familiar. It was part of their culture that the help that they had lent the fledgling American colonies as they broke away from the British was something that was still fresh in the memory of the French people and the French culture.
So, of course, the second place my mind went
If you haven't read it, I highly recommend. It should be required reading. Almost like once a year required reading.
All right, I'll put a link in the description.
Bastiat, please do.
The Law. And you can actually read it for free online, and it literally takes about 2 hours if you just commit yourself to it. So here's where my mind went next. I was like, okay, so think like them. Think like cancel culture. Why does Disney hate women? Because obviously when a man says something about Nazi Germany, it's perfectly fine because Pedro's fine, right? But as soon as a woman speaks up and says something about it, she got fired.
Sit down, be quiet.
So why is Disney so anti-woman? Like I never really thought about Disney being anti-woman, but doggone it, I kind of feel like they are now because I don't see any men getting
like
fired.
Strong, independent female characters, and they have went out of their way to push that
until they speak up and they talk about their thoughts.
Unless they say the
strong independent female characters,
strong independent
do what they're
female
told, right?
characters who don't have a spine and fold based on the direction the wind's going when it comes to public opinion.
Right.
They're cool with strong female characters that fit that description.
So what's up, Disney? What's going on with your strong females, huh? You don't like them? You fire them as soon as they start talking? That's bizarre, man. So anyway,
sounds
that
like
was my thought
something that like a little bit more thought and discourse needed to go in.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe somebody should have asked where she's coming from and saying, hey, you know what? Since you're a strong, independent woman and you had these ideas, where are these ideas coming from? Instead of, hey, hush, get back in the kitchen and bake me a pie.
Self-made woman, right? Who literally fought to make a name for herself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did not do it based solely on her looks.
Nope.
Beautiful woman.
Oh, she is.
By the way, don't get me wrong.
Amazing.
But busted her butt, fought her way into a name recognition position. Not a classically trained actress, not a supermodel. Got out there and did it, and Disney has shut her down.
And see,
a role model for little girls everywhere.
That's right. And see, now she's being extra brave, I think, with this signing with Ben Shapiro. So you talk about a lightning rod, okay? But I think with her
putting yourself out there,
with her signing with Ben Shapiro and doing this thing, she's being put out there, and I don't think she ever wanted to be a public figure.
No,
and I definitely don't think she wanted to be political or the face of some sort of movement, right? But she's being put out there now as the face of this movement, which is basically, hey, just because I might identify as conservative or not, I don't think she's ever said, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Women should be able to speak up and say what they're thinking about without being canceled. So now she is just like Jordan Peterson was years ago.
Like, I watched her interview with Shapiro, and she didn't make it a that I'm a woman, I should be able to speak.
She's not that person.
She's saying people should be able to speak and have opinions different from other people. And
I'm saying it's about she's a woman
goodness.
because clearly Pedro Pascal can say whatever he wants because he's a man.
She was
That's
actually
the logic, right?
She
That's
was
been the logic
actually
for years.
really, really gracious to Pedro because apparently a lot of this conversation has gone on
Pedro.
about. No, I know
I'm
you're
not
not.
blaming Pedro.
I know you're not. I'm saying that in her interview with Ben,
He actually defended her.
yeah, she went out of her way though to basically say, listen, me and Pedro disagree on a lot of stuff, and I don't want anything but positive things for the people I worked with there, Pedro included.
Because again, it's full of really good people,
Yeah.
except for somebody at the top that made a bad decision. So for what it's worth, I don't pay for Disney Plus anymore. We're done. I've got my shirt, and I love the Disney stuff, but I mean that's really the only way that you can stand up and say something anymore. Is say, you know what, I'm not going to support you
I'm
anymore.
not going to give you my dollars.
Yep. So it's
But you know who I do support?
sad.
The Pirate Bay.
Don't say that. No, I thought you were going to say ExpressVPN.
Brought to you by ExpressVPN.
So Among Us, right? So
Yeah.
so this weekend we were playing. So Among Us, playing the game has been a riot, and so my daughter, she's like, you know what? I want to play. I want to have an Among Us.
I
thing.
got him with that, didn't I, Scotty? I about broke him with the Pirate Bay comment.
I want to
That
have.
was good.
Yeah, you're gonna get in trouble. Those people literally got hauled off to jail. Anyway, I think they're out now. I don't know if they are or not. But so she's like, she wanted an Among Us theme, so it was pretty cool because I don't have them with me.
I've seen the pictures.
The
Y'all
stickers
went
are
all
cool.
out.
Oh, dude, for real. Well, that was most of my wife. So, no, we did. We split it, right? So, we got so Among Us. There's a couple non-interactive stations. One of them is a security station, right? So that's what I spent most of my time on, was setting up cameras and stuff all around the house. And you know, Among Us is a little bit like part of the problem the part of the charm about Among Us is the ship's a little bit dingy.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit, nothing's quite right?
You got to go around and fix everything.
Yeah, you're fixing stuff, right? So one of the cameras was cockeyed sideways. Another one was just kind of in the wrong spot.
Loose wire hanging in front of it and stuff.
And at first, one was just pointing at the server room, like was doing absolutely nothing whatsoever. So, but there's 4 little images on security, so you can kind of see the house when people are running around. And then my wife, she put together, of course, there are balloons everywhere, which is totally awesome. There was a banner, which was really cute, that my daughter pointed out. The banner had, and you didn't see this in the pictures, I got to send it to you, but it was perfect. It's February. The banner, all the little Among Us guys were holding up different LGBTQ flags, which was neat. Like all the different ones. It was really cool. Like I got to show it to you. It was fascinating. Beautiful banner, by the way. So it was, I wouldn't expect it. Like it was funny. I didn't even notice it. The banner was up on the wall, and my daughter looks up, and both of them go, "Oh yeah, that's." And they started naming them all off, and I was like, "Well, that's a thing I need to learn."
All of the different genders.
Yeah, no, it's all the different communities and stuff. So it was pretty cool. But anyway, so we had that going on. There was, of course, all the different stations, like you said, like the wiring station was cool. So there were, what do they call the brush, the wire brush? What do they call? Pipe cleaners. There you go. There were pipe cleaners on one side, and then of course everything was contact paper. We didn't have a laminator, so everything was contact papered. So the pipe cleaner, you take it from one side, you pop it in the other side, and we had the reactor room, and then like downstairs. So I had all the tech, right. So we had a big projector. The projector downstairs had a Starfield going with like this like mellow like space kind of music happening. All the lights were turned off, and they were like just kind of ambient lights around. I had some of our little cube lights that we use for recording. I had those on some of the stations, so it looked like a work light for the stations and stuff. And then the security room was cool because it was in her room, and of course she's got a TV up on the wall, and then she's got a monitor down below it. So it had the star going, so it looked like you were flying through space. And then the little security camera was down there, so you could see what everybody's doing in a couple of different rooms. Anyway, super cool. All the games are super cool. It was a lot of fun. Like even little stuff like filling the reactor fuels in the bathroom. You had to fill up the fuel, so it was like dumping water back and forth, which was fun to watch the little ones do. So the bathroom was a total mess, but it was fine. It was hysterical. And at first it was funny because you get the adults, right? Like you got adults like, no, I'll just help. And they're sitting aside. I'll just help. And then a couple games into it, we're full. Like you don't have any more spots. You've got 10 people, and people are like, all right, I'm in next game. Like, it was pretty funny. But probably one of the just several funny part. And I'll have to find the files. I asked my wife for the files. We'll have to pack them together. There's a couple different content creators that put them together, and she used files from 2 different games, printed them all out, and then we picked the ones that we liked the best. It was really neat. But one of the stories was, so the idea was, you walk up, there's a game master, right? So they would check off your tasks. Everybody had a little card with your tasks on it. They were all different. And then, of course, you had to, I guess you have 8 times 6, 48 tasks had to get done, so you'd win, right? And then there's the 2 imposters. So everybody gets secret cards. We did the One Night Werewolf style to where everybody closed their eyes. Took us a while to get there, though. But everybody closed their eyes, and then the imposters would look around. They'd figure out who they were. Because for the first several games, a couple of the imposters didn't know who they were, and they were trying to kill each other, which was hysterical. So that was funny. But one of the so the imposter, what they had to do is they'd have to come up to you, and they'd have to squeeze you on the arm. And that's how you knew you were dead. And we all had those little horns that you get for a birthday party.
Yeah.
So when you found a dead body, you'd blow the horn, and then time would stop. Everybody would run upstairs to the coffee table, and then
I thought for a second you were calling the Riders of Rohan. Never mind.
look to the east, and I'll be there when the morning sun crests the mountains. So we and then if you needed to call an emergency meeting, which has several times,
have some awesome birthday kazoo things. That's epic.
You would just run, and then you would slap the coffee table, and then my wife had a horn, like an air
horn.
Yeah, that she would blow, and then we had the Mega Boom or the Ultra Boom, the big one downstairs, and she had a little app on the phone so she could talk to people downstairs. So when she blew the horn, you would hear it upstairs, but you would also hear it through the anyway, it was cool. Like, everybody could communicate, everybody could run around. The lights were off in communications, which, again, think about a 13 by 20 foot wall or whatever, which is Starfield.
Yep.
And then that was navigation, so you had to navigate chart. It was a little maze or whatever. So anyway, so probably one of my favorite ones is, this was towards the end. I got more, but probably my favorite ones were downstairs, and this one over here and her friend Taylor were imposters. And was it Grant or Logan that was downstairs with us? It was Grant. Okay, so we're downstairs, and it was funny. So we've got a big downstairs with a projector, and then there's a doorway that goes into another room, which is the playroom, which is a pretty big space. It's about this size. Mm-hmm. And we walk into the playroom, and it's the 4 of us, right? So she, I guess, had already talked to her friend and said, the other imposter, and said, okay, when Dad walks in here, you get him, and then I'll get Grant. Right? That's what they said. You get him and I'll get Grant. So they planned a double kill. Well, the funny part was, she had told Taylor, and Taylor, I guess it didn't click or whatever. Like, he was still trying to figure the plan out. So we walked in, and I stopped and looked right at her in the eyes. She looked me right in the eyes, and she stared at me.
You could see the deceit in her soul.
She stared at me, and she reached over and she grabbed Grant's arm like this and squeezed his arm, and he just looked at her, and she looked at me, and then she went, Taylor. And Taylor goes, what? And I just bolted. I just he did. I actually had to run past him because
you're not getting me, murderers. You're not getting me.
And I ran upstairs, and because you can't talk, right? Because you can't talk. That's the other thing. You got to be quiet until you get to the emergency. And I can't talk. And of course, I run up there and smack the emergency. And then her and Taylor get up there, and they both go, he killed Grant. And I was like, dudes, that's totally not what happened. That was the funniest part, was that they walked out of the room because there was a couple folks that were on security, because good
job.
There's a couple folks on security, and they came out and they looked at me and said, he's sus. We saw Grant dead, and
I was standing in the doorway when Grant fell.
She was in a blind spot. Taylor was in a blind spot, right? And then so we come walking out, and then all they saw was Taylor in front of me. So they thought I was chasing him. Like, it was a big mess, but it was hysterical. That was one. Another one was when they were in front of around the coffee table, and it was, who was it? It was Taylor, and because he got the imposter like almost every time.
He literally got the imposter every single time.
Yeah.
Other than the one with me and Jason.
And then so he was imposter, and then Logan, which is one of the fast. He's like tag champion. Like, he is ridiculously fast.
We call him King Freeze Tag.
He when they were at the church one day, they were playing freeze tag, and they had chased him into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
He literally ran up the wall and vaulted over the person that was chasing him. Like, that's how,
Like right over my head.
like,
I was
like ninja
okay,
style.
I
Like,
give up.
Hardcore parkour.
guy's amazing. So anyway, I guess, so what was funny was I was in security with two of the others, and we were watching security, and nothing was going on, right? Because we had one in the living room, we had one downstairs, and we had one in the playroom. Nothing was going on.
Uh-huh.
And then all of a sudden, we saw Taylor lunge at Logan, and Logan takes off running, and then they're doing this number like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner around the table, just running around the table. And Logan is like, he keeps like trying to slap the table, and of course my wife is sitting there just staring at him like, what the heck just happened? And we're all in the security room going, we can't say anything, and then we start to run out, but we can't run out, right? Because there's a live imposter, right? Because he can come and get one of us. So we're all kind of staying away and watching this unfold. They're just kind of running around, and finally he slaps the table, and the horn goes off. And we all come running out, and Logan, he just goes, like he's like, I vote for myself. Like, it was so funny though. But there were so many of those little stories that were just, it was a riot, and it was so much fun. It was fun. It was wholesome. Like, nobody got mad at each other. It wasn't, you're moving around the entire time. Everybody's running around the entire time. And the funniest part was, like, the thing about Among Us, like, I always think to myself is like, there's no way if you're sitting here working on this task that you're not going to be paying attention to what's going on around you. Oh no, that's exactly what you do.
Yep.
But her sister, my little one, last game, I hadn't been killed the entire night. My little one, we went to the reactor, and we had remember those green lights that Kevin had on my cube?
Oh yeah.
I had
the
those
Christmas lights.
Yeah. So I had the lights shut off, and I had those up in the reactor room. It looked really cool. So there's a big green glow in the reactor room.
Mm-hmm.
And we were kind of walking around downstairs, and she had chased me before, but I was like, oh, I'm just kidding. I'm not really the imposter. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, that was funny, because they'd been teasing me because I was the only one that hadn't been killed yet. And anyway, so we go downstairs, and then we both run away from somebody.
That action, chasing you around, pretending you to be the killer, it's kind of sus.
Oh no, it should have been more sus than it was. Yeah, it was.
Her favorite thing though is to be sus.
Yeah, that's her thing. She likes to be sus. But anyway, so she
So that hides your intentions whenever you actually are.
actually are sus. So she chased me around, and I was like, all right, whatever. Haha, that was really funny. Good job, you know. And then we went downstairs, and we were both like scared of somebody else because we thought they were the imposter.
Who's Marsha?
And so we were like doing this and staying away from them. Like, both of us were staying away from them. And then I kind of walked around, and I was like, oh, okay, good. And we started to walk into the reactor room, but it was already full. And we're like, oh, there's already 2 people in there. So we're like, all right, I'm not going in there. She's like, I'm not going in there either. And then everybody leaves, and I start to walk away, and she goes, I got to go in the reactor. I was like, oh yeah, so do I. I forgot about that. Walked in, and we start to work on it. And she looks up, she goes, hey, Dad. I said, yeah, baby.
Bonk.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me. That was perfect.
We keep saying sus, and I forget, like, that's a shorthand in the game for suspicious or suspect,
that's
right?
Suspicious, yeah. Yeah, cyan sus.
So I'm sure everybody's like,
oh, no. Everybody understands. Everybody else has been on the internet. They're all fine. Those of you who aren't, go check it out. Among Us, I think it's actually free on the iPad. You can get it for free, or it's $5 on Steam. I like it on Steam, dude. It's $5.
Also on the Switch.
Is it really? Oh, that's fun. Huh. That's pretty neat, too. And the coolest part about it is it's cross-platform, all of it. So no matter what you're playing on, you just pop in the code, and you get in, and you play with your friends.
I also figured out this too. They run on North America, South America, and not South America, Asia servers too.
So there's 3 different servers? That's cool. Well, we need to play with our Asian brethren and sisterin. How do you say sisterin? Is that a way?
sisters.
Sisters. But you could say brothers, but what's the brethren version of sisters?
I don't know, dude.
There's got to be one.
It's probably sisters.
No, it's Disney again, hating women. That's what it is. You got to fix that. Anyway.
Well, you got to be careful because eventually Disney's probably going to buy YouTube.
Don't they own YouTube? No, Google owns
YouTube now.
Disney Google's.
But Disney's probably going to buy Google before too long.
Everything else.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
This is the way.
Cistern. What is the feminine equivalent of brethren? Cistern. Yeah, there you go.
I thought a cistern was where you collect water.
Cistern is different. That's what you pee in, right?
What? You better not be peeing in the cistern.
No?
No.
Oh, jeez. That's why my relatives never asked me back. All right. Well, cool. Yeah. So that's what I had to talk about with the Among Us. I thought we had a blast, man. It was a riot. We're gonna do it again in the summer. We have some friends that come up from Florida. We're gonna do it again. You're getting an invite. Y'all get some invites.
Nice.
We'll come over. I think the smallest game we played was 7 people, and that was fine, because we only had one imposter. But
Not 7. 7's the worst number.
well, it's harder for the imposter for sure. Like it's almost impossible for the imposter.
See, it's too much.
But what I'm saying is,
and too less for
right?
no
But
imposter.
that's what I'm saying is that was the first game that we played. It was like 7 people, but it was still fun. And then but
Well,
10,
maybe some of the other bugs you worked out along the way would make 7 doable. Maybe
10 people and 2 were good. Well, that was what was the countdown? The kill countdown was like 5 seconds or
30.
was it? Yeah, it was a little bit too long. I
I'm
think.
sure there's some balancing you could do.
Yeah.
You're the min-max master. You'll figure it out.
Oh yeah. No, I just want to play again. It's funny because I'm like I was looking around the house and we got to clean up the balloons because the Roomba ran over one of the balloons and it just got all.
You found
So-
it? Or
Yeah.
is it still is it
Yeah.
still stalking the wastelands?
Well, see, I found it and it was dead, but then when I went back to look for it, I said
It
it's
was
gone.
gone.
It's gone now again. So
So
I
what
don't
is
know
that,
what's-
day 10?
yeah, no, this is day like 34 at this point.
Oh my.
Yeah, I gotta post my log of the Roombas.
Open
It
my
still stalks the
door.
marshy grassland of our
So
kitchen.
that is one of the weirdest things too. Like I gotta post my Roomba story eventually because it's been creepy. But it actually, so the Roomba's got a bumper on the front of it, right? So when
Mhm.
it bumps into something, it'll stop. Okay, and this is one of the older Roombas. I can't remember how old it is. My parents, it's cool. I asked them. I said, hey, can you bring one up? Because we're thinking of buying one. It's like, hey, can you bring one up? Because my entire upstairs is all hardwood floor. And I said, can you bring one up? Because you have dog hair everywhere. The new dog, he sheds like, just crazy. And
He's what mix? Husky and
husky, shepherd, and Catahoula. Yeah, which you can-
Catahoula and muskox
yeah.
and wildebeest. And
He's a big boy, but
He is.
he sheds like wild, man.
gosh, I
And-
remember when you first got him, I looked at his paws. Like it was like a few weeks after y'all got him. I looked at his paws, and his paws are like, I was like, this is gonna be a big dog.
He's
Chris.
ginormous.
Whew.
You know what's funny is like, 'cause I work from home now, so when I work
Mhm.
downstairs, he's so cute because he'll hear my door shut downstairs. So by the time I get upstairs, he's sitting on the back of the couch like this, and of course then he comes over the back of the couch, usually punches me in the face, but
Steals your wallet.
yeah, he's not from Florida. he jumps up and puts his paws on my shoulders
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, so if you see me with black and blue or whatever, that's what it is. But he got me pretty good. He got me pretty good today. He clocked me. I kind of got a headache. He clocked me right in the temple before we left.
He doesn't
Um,
even have to get up on his hind legs to put his paw on your shoulder, does he?
Yeah, he's close.
He's still got one arm.
Wait, is that my dog's big joke or is that I'm a short joke? Kind of both, right?
Either way.
So,
Take it how you want there, short stuff.
but the Roomba's
Small stack.
it's got a little bumper on the front of it, and so when it hits something, it knows it hits it, and then it turns around. Somehow, it opened one night. It opened her locked door, her shut door. So the thing is supposed to bump into it and turn around, but it opened her door and came in her room, came in a couple feet, turned around and left. And this was during the missing time period, for what it's worth. So because we couldn't find it the next
I'm
day.
not even joking.
No, it's pretty crazy, man. I'm telling you. Now that said, it does a great job cleaning up, so it can stay. Like I'm good with it,
The floors have never looked better.
dude. They have their things fantastic, man. Like dog fur and stuff, man, all gone. Like seriously, like you know my house. You walk through the house, if you get just a little bit of a pickup pace to
Yeah.
it, you get the dog fur coming on. That happens in a day, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But now with the Roomba, dude, we run that sucker just every night.
You know how rugs and stuff, like if you go one direction on them, like the grain gets pushed one way, and if you go another, it goes back the other. It kind of leaves a pattern.
Your back hair's kind of like that.
My back hair's a lot like that.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is that the Roomba, I've heard that it's starting to leave patterns. It's trying to send messages and stuff. But again, if it's keeping the floors clean,
I'm
Who
cool
care-
with it, man.
who cares what arcane nonsense it's trying to
Yeah,
summon?
I'm pretty sure it's sentient and
Eldritch demons, whatever. Clean floors.
it's right. It hasn't tried to kill anybody yet, so I mean, so far so good. Dogs are terrified of it. Obviously, neighbors have called and complained about it a couple times, but I got great floors, so
Yeah.
I think all in all, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it.
Good.
Yeah.
When you start seeing Cthulhu Death Cult daggers like laid around the house,
So,
might need to call somebody.
so you reminded me, and I probably said this before, but I'll say it again.
Yeah.
Like the Cthulhu thing, like I love.
So
But when I was a kid and I was reading it, right, because the whole, if you're, for the uninitiated, no spoilers, because literally it was written like 1929. Okay.
yeah,
So deal with
1930 Lovecraft.
But the idea is that there's a group of people that are trying to resurrect the elder dead gods, right? One of which is Cthulhu. There's a whole pantheon.
Mhm.
One of which is Cthulhu, and because they want to resurrect Cthulhu because he's going to destroy the world. And I never understood the death cults when I was a kid. Like, I just like, what? Why would you want to destroy the world, right? And then I worked in corporate for 10 years, and I was like, oh, I totally get it now. I
Well, their
understand
whole
why
thing
these
wa-
people are.
Their whole thing was that
suicidal.
if we resurrect, they're thinking eventually Cthulhu is gonna get resurrected and destroy the world, but if we're the ones that resurrect him, he'll be merciful to us and kill us quickly first,
Is that the idea?
and the rest of the world will suffer.
Yeah. So again, never understood that before I worked in corporate. Now I get it. I totally understand how you could go, from a, it's drinking Starbucks to a death cult. So I understand it now. It makes perfect sense. So yeah, I'll post the Roomba stories, man, because that is definitely still ongoing. But that thing is again, demons aside, that thing is absolutely
It's been
fantastic.
a fun writing prompt for you, huh?
Yeah, it's been good. It's
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Yeah, so there you go.
Well, what other? You said you had a couple political things you wanted to talk about. Do we want to go there?
I don't know, man. So,
Was the Disney / Gina Carano thing the main?
that wasn't even on
Thrust
my
of it?
topic. That wasn't even on my list. It's almost like poking fun at this point, but and I want to be super careful how I say this.
Well, just keep in mind we've got. I can't remember if it's the 6th or the 9th
Mm-hmm.
that Trump's finally he's gonna have the military that he's been working with this whole time. That's been Is it the 6th?
Yeah.
That they've been rounding up all of these opposition leaders, like Nancy Pelosi's in jail apparently now. I've
Is she?
heard. Yeah, they rounded her up and a bunch of other ones. So he's eventually going to let it be known that he's actually still running the show.
Right.
He's just been kind of doing it in behind the scenes, keep up the ruse,
Right.
and that he's going to be coming back into power on the 6th, I guess it is.
Well, he spoke at the CPAC. Was it yesterday or the day before?
I
Was
didn't
it
get a
over the
chance to
weekend?
listen to it yet. I was driving.
There's
Or
some-
Scotty was driving, and I was reading just
some
ridiculous stories.
Interesting things that he brought up. Of course, he was going on and on about the election rigged. And listen, if the election is rigged in 2020 and in 2016, because I do remember it was rigged in 2016.
Yep, show me an election that wasn't rigged.
Right. It's a serious thing. Like we have got to figure out why people think that they ever had a choice to begin with.
I was going to say that their vote matters.
That's
Oh,
that's the
jeez.
part that really confuses me. Is look, man, go read the Constitution. Right. It's up to the Electoral College. It's up to a bunch of people that theoretically your representative is representing you, are supposed to put into power to vote for you, because back when this thing was written, you keep
Have to ride a horse for 10 days to go tell your representative what you wanted.
right, and keep in mind, like, your slaves couldn't carry the letter to vote for you, right? So you would have to go and do it yourself, and that's a real pain in the neck, because you can't ride a horse all the way up to New York. I mean, you can't do that.
But before even the Electoral College, didn't the representatives themselves appoint a president? Or am I missing that one?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
We need to research this one.
They did for Washington. Like, they just appointed Washington, didn't they?
Yeah, they basically they said
I'm pretty sure it was.
they said you're going to be our king, and he's like, whoa, hold up.
I'm pretty sure it was popular vote after that, because I think that was kind of the whole point. But
Yeah.
I mean, right after they won the Revolutionary War, I don't think they were like, "Hey, it's time for a vote." They're like, "Nope, you're it," and you're right. And he stepped down. Right
Yeah.
now, not talking about him because I didn't know him personally, but yeah, he stepped down. But yeah, anyway, that was
Well, apparently that was like, I like looking at it now. I seem to feel like that was a pretty noble move, because that dude was the superhero of the day. He could do no wrong after he won.
He totally could have stuck around, and he was one of the gentry. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
So he was one of them. He was one of the people that ran the country already, and he was one of the people that helped continue run the country, or helped win the war. Whether you believe his contribution was amazing or not, it is what it is.
He was in a pretty significant position of power,
To
authority.
take credit for all the people that died that actually
You got it.
won the
He
war. Yeah.
definitely could have.
Not talking
and-
smack about Washington,
No,
but
and
it is
the
what it
fact
is when it comes to
that the
leaders.
dude stepped down from it, and moreover, like told them straight up, no, I don't want to be a king.
Yeah, that says a lot.
I'll help for a while,
Yeah, it says a
but
lot for him.
then I'm going back to chill.
Well, he had that giant.
Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I mean, he had that
Or
giant
no, that was
estate to go
Thomas
back
Jefferson,
to.
wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Gosh, I'm getting them mixed up.
Washington.
It's all right. Don't matter.
He had Martha to get back to.
Washington's estate. Yeah, he had to go chill with Martha.
Yeah. Well, again,
Her
who
golden
is
years.
it? Who is it? Somebody was talking about the other day. It's like
Monticello, is that right?
that sounds right. Why would I run for president if I'm already rich and I don't have, like, why would I want to go work if I don't have to?
It's a made man.
So, yeah, no, I totally understand him leaving. But, yeah, so apparently he spoke about that. You know, he explained again that the election was rigged. To me, the two things. The most poignant thing he talked about, which is interesting because he didn't talking about Trump, not Washington now. He didn't talk, President Trump. He didn't talk about while he was in office, but he talked about trans issues. But he didn't use the word trans. What he talked about was men competing in women's Olympics. Mm-hmm. So there's been something going on recently where there's a lot of athletes that are becoming frustrated. Matter of fact, I was watching was it BBC maybe, where there was a
I've heard about this, and I don't think you're allowed to call them athletes at that point. They're transphobes.
Wait, what?
Yeah, if they're athletes that are frustrated that
right.
people of other genders are coming in and out competing them,
Right.
they're no longer athletes. You have to refer to them as transphobes.
Right. Right, because because they question the norm or they question the narrative. Right now, they lose all rights because they have to be canceled immediately. Mm-hmm. But I think what President Trump was talking about, he was talking about he said he was talking about the safety really of athletes. Because if you think about what Fallon Fox did a couple years ago, like Fallon Fox crushed that woman's skull. Like Fallon crushed that woman's skull, and anyway, so
they. Use the correct pronoun.
I don't know what pronoun Fallon uses, to be honest.
That's why I said they. It's ambiguous.
Okay, thou, thine, thee, thine, thou. That's yours, right? Yeah. I was talking to my buddy about that today. Like, did he put his pronouns at the bottom of his email? I'm like, dude, entire company, man. There's a bunch of folks that do. That way you don't accidentally get confused, you know?
That way people know that I'm an 18th century gentleman.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, and you know, I support that. That's awesome. Again, we're talking, right? We're not COVID bump. So anyway, yeah, so he talked about that. He talked about that a little bit and was talking about the sanctity of women's sports. His words, not mine. Mm-hmm. Which was interesting because that's nothing. I don't remember him bringing that up during his first presidency. So it's interesting that he was talking about that. But for me, the funniest thing was his hand motions because he was talking about how that there was a record in women's weightlifting that was shattered. Now, keep in mind. Sorry, I'm talking to the kids. I'm so sorry. Keep in mind, you have trans folks that are now in both sports, but it's still men's and women's sports, right?
Yep.
So I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe we should get rid of the total sports altogether. Maybe it shouldn't be men and women's sports anymore because
whoa.
I'm just saying.
Now you've just crossed the boundary, and you're going to upset a lot of feminists by doing that.
Listen, that sounds very binary, and apparently binary is bad. So if we're not liking binary, then we should stop doing the binary stuff, okay?
So we were just talking about this before you guys showed up about how there's a disparity between the feminist movement right now, at least certain parts of it, who are
it's got to come full circle, hasn't it?
that are seeing
like
that,
it's going in reverse now.
It's like, hey, I don't get to, for the trans person, is the trans male to female who says, I don't feel like a woman unless I get to wear a skirt or whatever kind of societal gender norm that's been established for women.
Right.
That the feminist is sitting there going, whoa, hang on a second.
Well, you're Scottish. You get to wear a skirt.
That's true.
Yeah.
But the feminist, on the other hand, is saying, whoa. Wearing a skirt makes a woman a woman. We fought hard to be able to wear pants in the workplace and different stuff like that.
Oh, that's a really good
point.
There's
all kinds of and the sports thing is one that we didn't even get to earlier talking about. But there's a huge disparity there going on.
So you and I are on the same page with this. When it comes down to people and having rights, okay, as long as nobody's getting hurt, I don't got a problem. Do you, right? Yep. You want to have parades in the street, and you want to dress like dinosaurs, and you want to chase around other people dressed like cats, whatever, man. As long as nobody's getting hurt, I'm down. Matter of fact, I'll probably join in.
Your right
It sounds
to
like
be
fun.
you ends at the bridge of my nose, right?
Well, the right to swing your fist
Yep.
ends at the bridge of my nose.
Yep.
And so what it is, as long as you're not hurting anybody, right? Then do your thing. Like, I don't care what you're doing.
I might not be a fan of it, but I'll tolerate it all day long.
And
That doesn't mean I have to approve it, but I'll tolerate it all day long.
And that's where, for example, if you
Especially people in dinosaur outfits. Gosh.
sidestep, right?
Ugh, disgusting.
And go into, oh gosh, what was the guy's name? No, you're going to squirrel me. Hang on a second. I'll look him up in a second. Remi something. He was on YouTube a long time ago, the French guy that would, he'd dress up in a bunch of animal costumes and do a bunch of crazy stuff. I got to find him. I'll find it.
I've never heard of this. And
Remi Gaillard.
I've watched the internet twice,
Sir.
and I've never heard of this nonsense.
I'm gonna open you up to Remi Gaillard. You've seen this stuff. You just don't know what it is. Here, I'm gonna.
Okay.
While I talk, I'm just gonna spin this around. I'm gonna let you watch it because, fair use and all
Copyright
that stuff. I
strikes.
can't do it. But anyway, so the idea is so think about someone. Is that in the shot? That's not in the shot, is it?
No.
Okay, good. So think about DUI. Think about somebody drinking and driving. Okay.
Kind of like a bunch of flash mob stuff, right?
Yeah, but this was like 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Let me find the dinosaurs. Hang on a second.
That's hilarious.
Oh no, this is fun.
This is great.
The Pac-Man's
This is great.
hysterical. So and this is old. Like, this is a long time ago, and he's funny because he goes on some diatribes, man. Which again, I don't know, whatever. I think he got thrown in jail a bunch of times, but it's France. He's in France, so like nothing's gonna happen to him.
Oui.
He's perfectly fine. Oui,
Yeah.
oui. His his way. But think about when you're drinking, right? So if you're drinking, you're fine as long as you're not hurting anybody. But the change is when you get into a car and you start driving after you've been drinking, right? Because now you could potentially hurt somebody. Well, that's when your right to drink stops. Your right stops when you start to hurt somebody else. So when you start thinking of, all right, I'll show this to you later.
No, this is good.
I
dude.
know it
This
is.
good.
I know. I want you to talk to me though.
I want to see the dinosaurs.
I want you to talk to me. The dinosaurs aren't in this one. I have to find them. I'll find them. I'll post them in the comments. No,
What's
don't
on
do that.
your mind, Chris?
I'm telling you what's on my mind. That was my fault. I completely this one here with the kangaroo. Oh my gosh, dude! I gotta show you the kangaroo. It's funny, dude. I'm gonna post this. I'll post this up there. There's a guy. I know you guys on the internet are like, oh, and it really is. It's like 15 years old, dude. Hold on.
He's doing his own thing. He's doing his own thing. He's being hysterical.
Watch this. Watch this. This is funny. Watch this. I love this one.
Oh my goodness.
He just like jumps around. Oh, is it down? Okay, I'm in trouble now. Okay.
Nah,
Anyway.
he's doing his own thing. He's being hysterical, but he's not hurting anybody.
Oh, I don't
Now,
know. He just
what
kicked
he's
the
doing-
guy into the lake. I think.
Okay,
he
in
hurt
that case,
guy.
yeah,
It's
I
not-
missed that part. But what he's doing is okay as long as he's not violating anybody else's
Oh no!
life,
Listen.
property,
Don't get me wrong.
etc.
I said something about the dinosaurs, which got me thinking about Remi Gaillard. So no, this guy is totally breaking the law. Everything he does is pretty much breaking the law. He's trespassing. He's stealing things. There's a couple times where he runs up behind cops and steals their hats and runs off. And again, like there was one where it was funny. Well, I can't remember what he was dressed in. He was dressed in some animal costume, and he was on the golf course like this.
I can just see the judge's reaction. You did what?
Maybe it was in the kangaroo costume, but like there were
You do
people.
that in America though. You get shot.
There were people like
They
putting.
kill your dog.
And they were, thank God they don't have, oh, you're talking about the cops again.
Yeah. Cops in America,
was like-
they kill your dog for
He was
stealing their
bouncing
hat.
around. He was bouncing around with a kangaroo costume, and he bounced over to these people that were playing golf. That they're on the green, and he reached down and grabbed the ball and started to bounce off. And the dude took his wood and like hit him in the leg. He had this giant bruise on his leg, like it was awful. But anyway, so yeah. So my point. Sorry, I totally scrolled with Remi Gaillard.
No, that was worth it.
So they wouldn't know that it's him
Yeah, but see,
Yeah,
they
because
do
he's in a
because
costume.
He's not.
unless they take his mask off.
But he's easily caught, and that's part of the
That's-
fun part about those videos is he's easily caught, and then they rip the mask off, and then he gets. So no, it's funny. I'll add these in the description too
sorry.
because they're hysterical.
Let's
No,
get
no.
back on track.
Well, there is no track, but yeah, and I thought about the dinosaurs, and there's one video. It's like I want to say it's like 3 minutes of just him at like a local jogging place in the woods, right? Like there's this trail running through the woods, and he's dressed up as a velociraptor, and he just pops out and starts chasing people.
I've seen
One guy-
I've seen the ones where people get in elevators as velociraptors and like all of a sudden come out of an elevator,
And there
scare
was
the heck
one
out of people.
where he was dressed up as a bear, and he runs up to this guy's tent and starts clawing at the tent, and the guy starts running, and he's in the tent and he's running, and you see the tent just tumbling as he's taking off, and he's not even chasing it anymore. So again, yeah, here in America, totally
Again,
dangerous. Would
again,
not do that.
I would shoot through the tent wall
Yeah.
at somebody doing something like that.
It's so fun, but it's in France. They don't have any guns. They're safe. They're perfectly safe from people like that.
They've been sterilized.
Yeah. So anyway, as long as you're not hurting anybody, okay. So you and I are on the same page. As long as you're not hurting anybody, do whatever you want to do, right? So again,
Yeah.
going back to having your dinosaur parades, chasing cats, whatever. It's fine. But the question comes in these sports. No, this is President Trump talking.
Mhm.
Question comes in with these sports is you've got trans athletes coming in to women's sports, smashing records that have been held by women for years. Like what he said, I don't know if this is factually true or not, probably not, but he said that the women's weightlifting had been smashed by 100 pounds just recently. And he's like, that's hurtful to the sport. It's hurtful to the sport because you've got women that are working,
Committed their lives to this.
and then a trans athlete comes in and they do that. And so anyways, he was talking about that, but it really brings up the question is, do you want, for example, a trans athlete playing in the WNBA? Do you want a trans athlete in MMA, right? Like Dana White's held a pretty staunch line with this because of the damage that Fallon was causing to folks while Fallon was fighting. Like it's dangerous. And you can see that it was dangerous. And even who's the I'm looking at you like you would know the tennis star, what's her name, starts with a V, she's the African American girl who's
Venus Williams.
there you go, who's absolutely fantastic, right?
Yeah.
She was on a talk show not too long ago, and she actually openly said, and I'm surprised she didn't get ostracized for it, she openly said,
She got all kinds of flack for saying
did she?
that. Yeah.
She said, hey, I don't want to go up against a man. She's like, I just went up against, it was like the 203rd ranked man or whatever, and he whooped her.
Yeah.
And her own statement, she said, yeah, he whooped me. I want to go up against women. She said very clearly, men serve faster. They're faster on the court, like they do all the, and whether it's going back to the equity, right?
Yep.
Equity, keep
Gooses and ganders.
Yeah, keep it equal, man. So again, I'm not gonna tell a bunch of men that you got to go, I don't know, pop out babies or something. I don't know, or I don't know, what do women do that men can't do? Pretty
Dishes,
much nothing.
laundry.
Pretty much nothing. Women
Dishes
can,
and laundry, right?
women can do pretty everything that men can do, literally anything. And you've got your.
I'm getting ugly looks over here.
You've got your.
She looked at me.
She's laughing. She knows you're kidding. You've got this divide, or this intentional separation for equity, and it's been that way for the longest time. Again, pick any woman athlete. Okay, I don't want to fight them. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They're gonna crush me. They're gonna crush my skull. I mean, they probably wouldn't. They probably
Venus
laugh me away.
Williams would whoop me at tennis.
Oh yeah.
No doubt.
Oh no, dude. Venus, she would arm wrestle. Done. I'm out. Thank you. Have a nice day.
No.
She'd crush me, right? I'm not even like, I'll tap out. I'm not even gonna lie about it.
Yeah.
So you've got these exceptional athletes. Well, they need to be equitable, and that's what. And again, this is all Mr. Trump, President
And
Trump,
like I
was
said,
saying this. Not
feminists,
me. I'm not saying this.
the feminist
I'm
movement
totally saying this.
has fought for this stuff for years against a lot of pushback
Right.
from the sports communities, and that now we finally have, WNBA is a thing now,
Right.
and you're starting to see different sports start to push in this area, and now all of a sudden it's getting derailed,
Right.
because we got to make sure that Fallon can go in there and break a woman's skull.
Can I go on out
What
on a limb?
was her list of injuries? Like, you think of that, like she had like an orbital fracture.
Oh,
There was like 2 or 3 other like
Literal
facial
cracked-
bones broken.
Yeah, literal cracked skull. Yeah. Yeah, and that's just because again, it's not even back. Like, it's not even about. It is the strength at that point, but it's not even about strength at that point. It's about how everything is formed, right? Like, I'm not
Bone
clearly not a
structure.
scientist, you can tell, but the bones form differently.
Mhm.
Like, everything forms differently because I don't know, for whatever reason. But again, it's about equitable. It's about being equitable, right?
Yep.
And for what it's worth, I'm going to go way out on a limb here and say, women's volleyball to stay women's volleyball. I'm just saying that out loud, okay?
Even the other way, if you put women, female to male, in MMA with a cisgender male, they're not evenly built.
Yeah, they don't make it up to that level.
Right.
That doesn't happen, and that's the fun
That's
thing.
the point.
That's
you're
an
exactly
interesting
right.
point about it is if you switch that around completely, and you try to say, okay, well, if we go the other direction, it's not going to work out well.
No.
Not going to work out well at all.
Right.
And that should put a big spotlight on the disparity in the double standard.
Right. And I want to say the interview that I was watching, I'll have to dig it out, but the interview that I was watching, it was a BBC. So obviously I was watching President Trump talking. The funniest part though for me, I'll get back to the interview. The funniest part was President Trump. He was talking about weightlifting and he leans back and he goes, he does his little motion
with his little tiny hands.
His tiny hands, his tiny wrists, and his giant oversized jacket. It was absolutely hysterical. It was so much fun. That's what got me thinking about this whole thing. Anyway, I was watching him do that.
I've heard centaurs are pretty strong though.
Is he a centaur?
He's a centaur. Have
Huh?
you not heard this?
No.
All right, Google foo. President Trump is secretly a centaur.
Wouldn't you be able to see that?
Listen,
Are
they
we-
convinced us the moon landing was real too, Chris. I mean,
That's a really good
I
point.
mean,
That's a
come
really
on.
good point. Yeah.
yeah, it's just the way that first image right there.
There
Look
it
at
is.
the
President-
way he stands right there.
Oh man.
It's obviously
Oh, he's-
hiding
he's
that-
been photoshopped.
that there is a back half to that horse.
Look at it. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, right there you
Yep,
go.
yeah.
That's it. And there's
You can
multiple
even see
pictures.
the horse on that picture.
The one that's got him and his daughter and son there. Up one.
Oh, he's
yeah, no.
hiding the horse part.
Yeah, you can see he's standing there specifically to hide the horse's
The horse through
back.
the body. Yeah, that's perfect.
Mhm.
That is a horrible picture right there. That I don't ever want to see that again. Oh, look at that. That's perfect. You know the guy that does all the presidential photos, like Obama and stuff. Remember, like Obama, and it was a Bush riding the bear or whatever, and somebody was on the moon, like riding the Falcon or the Raptor. It was Lincoln riding the Raptor. I want to see President Trump as a centaur.
You know what? When they asked him if he swore on everything to take the oath of office, he had to fight really hard not to say nay.
Oh, you're so proud of yourself for that one. Oh, look at him hugging the flag. See, he's such a patriot.
Hello, hungry. I'm Dad.
Look at him. That's almost like our current president sniffing people's hair. That's good. It's so cute. But yeah. So anyway, he was fun to watch.
So which one of them has more dementia, Trump or Biden?
Trump is just, he does. I don't think he has dementia. So that's the thing. So let me say that too. Sorry, my contacts are. So let me say that too. Like, I'm not making dementia is a serious thing. Okay. So here's the thing. Like the man, not Trump, President Biden, the man. Somebody needs to intervene. Okay. He was at. I'm gonna probably get this a little bit wrong, but he was at a speech. It was over the weekend. And again, man, this is like kicking babies, but it's not. I'm not trying to make fun of the guy. I'm worried about him. Okay,
Mhm.
like I'm concerned because you have a person. He's a person. Okay,
Yeah.
whether you're red state or blue state, it doesn't matter. The man is a person. Okay, whether he spent 47 years in office and never did anything ever, and probably is the worst. Absolute. He's a person. Okay.
He supported a bunch of war on drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, what was that 1996 crime bill that he supported that put a
assault weapons ban?
right? And he's and all the racist things that he said over like one of my favorite ones where he said in the right setting, even poor kids can be as smart as white kids. Like that was one of my favorite ones that he said. Anyway, so he was speaking over the weekend and he was literally reading names off a teleprompter. And he kept tripping over his words, and he kind of backed up and he said, "Where am I? I'm gonna get lost, or I'm gonna lose track." And then had to pause for a moment, like he literally says, "Where am I? I'm gonna lose track. I'm gonna lose track." And stood there for a minute and just sort of like looked around. And it's like, I've seen dementia. Okay,
Yeah.
we've had family members with dementia before. The dude needs help, and the fact that. For me, the scandal is not that he has dementia. The scandal is the fact that the man is the leader of the free world. He's being put up in front of everybody by the Democrats and by his wife. Isn't his wife a doctor?
Yeah, I believe so.
and nobody's addressing it. You've got
Confirm that real
CNBC,
quick.
you've got CNN, you've got Fox
Please.
News. Is Jill Biden a doctor? Hey Siri. But nobody's addressing it. Like, nobody's getting this man help.
Yeah.
Like, and if they were getting him help, tell us how it's going on. This is different from, who was it? Theodore had polio?
Yeah, because he could still. Yeah.
Right. This is totally different.
This is a pretty bad case. The emperor has no clothes, right?
Yeah. And if you think about it, this man, and I'm sorry, I mean, because I know Trump did
Oh,
too.
she got a doctorate in education.
But
I
she's-
remember there was a big kerfuffle about that because she kept calling herself doctor, and there were a bunch of doctors that came out and said you can't call yourself doctor unless you're a medical doctor.
Oh, that's
It's like what? No,
yeah. No, there's a bunch of like paleontologists and stuff for doctors too.
no. There was a bunch of people on the right that were
Dr.
saying, well,
Ross
she's
Geller.
putting herself up there as a doctor, and she has no medical training. I'm like what?
Doctor's a doctor, dude.
Anyhow, sorry.
Isn't that the joke? Is there, like on the airplane, is there a doctor on board? This man can't breathe. It's like, I'm a doctor of psychology. Sit down. Sit down. Is there a nurse or an EMT on board? Yeah, so they're
You can help his grieving widow after you do nothing.
right. So that's it, man. Like that's it's concerning to me that they're putting him up there and nobody are they helping this guy? Like that's
No, they can't. They can't, because if they do, then what are the repercussions? What could happen if they did that?
And then think about what happens when folks like, and this is just basic psych 101, okay? Folks with dementia, they get flustered, and sometimes they get angry and they get confused, okay?
Mhm.
This is the guy with the nuclear codes. Okay, I'm sorry. Nuclear codes, okay?
Nuclear,
This is the guy with the nuclear
Nuclear?
codes, okay? That's so hard to
not
say.
nuclear.
So
Well,
I'm just
not
saying.
just that. He's the one that's going to be sitting across from heads of state, trying to negotiate peace between other countries and our own.
Peace in the Middle East.
Well, like you think, like if he ever sits down with some actor from another country, I mean, I think Putin gets deposed and somebody else takes his place that's more extreme or has got their finger on the button and threatening war, and all of a sudden Biden has some slip of the tongue or like blanks out for a second when he shouldn't, and man, things could get weird.
I'm just
Granted, it's a freak hypothetical, but
I'm just worried
there's a
about
lot
the man's
of-
health.
yeah, there's
Like,
a lot of
that's where I'm at.
scenarios that could wind up really bad for us, not to mention just the fact that he is a human, whether you believe it or not. I mean, he's
not-
at least in the form of a human,
Right, I don't think
for a
he's
reptilian
No, I don't
shapeshifter.
think he's not a reptilian. He's Hillary obviously is, but I don't think President Biden is.
Where's she been lately? She must be molting.
She went back to the mothership. Yeah, she's got to shed her skin every 8 years. That's what the whole Pizzagate thing was about. She needed the blood of the virgins and all that stuff
Gotcha.
so she could molt and then redo her skin. Yeah,
Wow,
sure.
that QAnon stuff goes deep.
Well, the neat thing is the greatest thing about being a reptilian is Hillary. She'll come back as a different person, right? So she's
Yeah.
going to continue her political career just as a completely different person when she comes back. So eventually, like, you'll never hear her dead or whatever. Like, they'll say, hey, she passed away. Hopefully
Mhm.
it's very peaceful and it's in her home and, all that stuff.
Well,
And
they
I
can-
want nothing but the best for Hillary. Please don't kill me.
If they can
Um,
hide half a centaur, could they not just like take care of Hillary that way? Like just
Oh, she's going to come back as an attractive young woman. That's why Bill's so upset that, of all the philandering he's done,
wait,
So-
you don't think she's
Well, I mean, she's gonna take the form of an attractive young woman, right? Because that's what they do, the skinwalkers, as they say,
Mhm.
right? So she'll come back and she'll run again and she'll win and she'll be, I don't know, maybe she'll be Republican this time. How cool would that be? Hillary comes back to Republican, or maybe she'll be part of Trump's new party because he's going to start his own party. He's part of the new Republican Party, right?
is that what he's saying?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
Interesting.
yeah, Hillary's basically Orochimaru. No, you're right. Good call.
Oh my gosh, y'all really have to invoke anime.
I'm
I swear
telling
to
you, man.
goodness, every
Orochimaru is
episode.
one of the greatest of all villains.
All right. Listen, Google image search can take you down some dark places.
Yeah.
Make sure safe search is on first.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
That's Tsunade. No, she's part of it. It's okay. She's a gambler. Good stuff. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So I look forward to Hillary's return. You haven't seen Hillary in a while.
no, we haven't. I'm thinking that she's been rounded up along with Nancy Pelosi, who we haven't seen in a while.
Ooh.
Maybe there's some credence to this.
Clearwater revivals.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's some credence to these Clearwater revivals.
So you think
What does revivals in Florida have to do with anything?
snakes. We're talking about reptilians.
Oh,
so
that's
it all,
right.
It all
No.
connects together.
Full circle.
So they're rounding all these folks up, and then President Trump's going to come back. Now, so here's the thing.
The military's been supporting him all along.
Is he going to come back?
Because they turned their back on Biden at the inauguration.
But as our savior, is he going to come back riding his white horse? How do you do that when you're a centaur? Like
That would be kind of interesting.
Is the centaur's going to ride?
He is the white horse.
He is the white horse.
Everybody's going to be like, "What is he doing to that horse?"
Like, he is the horse. He is the horse.
Did I go too far?
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
So I'm interested. So tell me more about this this roundup.
that's it, dude.
That's it?
They're just
What's just gonna happen, huh?
they've been secretly the military's been secretly working with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
He's still in control, but the
course.
media is working with the Democrats to try to convince you that he's not. So even Fox News is in on now. Fox News to this group of people that are making these prophecies and stuff, they are working for the devil. So,
We've known that for years.
well, yeah, but just in a different capacity.
Yeah. Okay.
So they are convinced that that's what's going down, and it's all like 4 more days apparently.
Really?
I can't remember if it was the 6th or 9th. David's saying the 6th.
Yeah.
Might be the ninth.
Sometime between the 6th and the 9th. I'm just saying you might want to empty out your stock portfolio and invest in gold,
Gold,
physical gold,
not GameStop. Oh, did I tell you?
hodl,
I
diamond hands.
I'm diamond hands right now, man. I went full. Yeah.
You went full autist, full
No.
retard.
No. Yeah. You know what I
No,
finally.
because you bought after, so you're a retard,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah. Totally. Well, here's the thing. So
So there's
Turns out-
before I get accosted for saying that, there's a whole
Hey.
like hierarchy
those
of
are our
GME
words.
people.
Those
Yeah.
are our words.
Yeah, exactly.
Not your words. So, turns out when you place a bet, because that's really what it is. First of all, I like the stock.
If you bought
say that.
beforehand, though, you're an autist, right?
If you bought when it was
after-
$8 a share, you're an autist. That's
if you
right.
bought after
Right.
it went up to like over 400,
Yeah, basically the way they break it down is the autists make money. They don't know what they're doing still, but they make money. The retards lose it. So yeah.
the retard's just diamond hands, right?
Well, no, everybody has the diamond hands.
But their only purpose is diamond handing, not
Everybody diamond hands.
Yeah.
So I watched it when it hit 40 again, right? So I was like, dude, that's awesome.
But just for clarification, you do like the stunk.
Love the stock, absolutely.
Yeah.
GameStop is fantastic. It's part of my childhood. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. In just for further clarification, clearly, if anybody's been listening this long tonight, you know I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a complete moron. So definitely not stock advice at all whatsoever because I don't know what I'm doing. Literally, and this story is going to explain why. So it went to 45. This was a week ago, right? It went down to it went to 40.45. Okay, on a Friday. I looked at it. I was like, dude, that is awesome. So now, since I am not smart on this, I don't trade overseas, which apparently is what I should have done. But anyway, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to grab 30 shares. So that's my
So
position.
you put in your purchase.
That's my condition in GameStop is 30 shares. Okay. My particular, I'm not going to say who it is. It's not Robinhood. I know that. But my particular investment firm, and I probably did this wrong. Okay. So I'm going to tell you I did this wrong. I put in for 30 shares. What's 30 times 45 math? When I put in that went over the weekend.
Mhm.
Okay. Now it's not a first come, first serve. It is
it's as available.
that's right. So it gets purchased wherever the number is when you hit. So Monday morning it was not $45 anymore. It was $160. So
You're still in below 400 though.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I think you're going to be okay.
I'm 30 at 160.
It's going to hit 1,000. I
Yeah.
like the stunk.
So it should have been 1350, right? But it turned out to be, don't do that math. I don't want to know.
More.
So yeah, more.
About 3 times more.
Now, as it is, like the only investment advice I'll give to anybody is don't invest in the stock market unless you can lose the money, right? So this is the 30 shares.
And in stuff you know about.
That's right. Well, no, I'm just saying don't. I'm not telling you
Yeah.
what. I'm saying you don't invest with any money you can't lose because
It
you
is
just have
gambling.
to.
It
Yeah,
is
you just
gambling.
have to assume you're going to lose it. So I put in 30 shares. So I have 30 shares right now. Now here's the thing. Here's the neat thing. Here's the crazy part, right? So I started watching it again, and again, I don't know anything. Okay, I'm just reading DDs on Reddit. Okay,
Mhm.
but when you start
Wait, what's DDs?
deep dives,
Deep dives. Okay.
so I read, and I probably got that wrong, but I read it's like an 8-page, multi-page, like updated deep dive on this. Monday morning, there were something like 800,000 trades in the first half an hour. There were, due diligence. Okay, yeah, see, totally wrong. See, I told you. See right there, I just proved how dumb I am. There were like 800,000 trades within the first 30 minutes on Monday, and they were all shorts. And they were all shorts between a couple different firms. So basically, the firms are shorting each other to drive down the value of the stock, which is what they've been doing this whole time. But what they're doing is they're using these computers, and they're shorting back and forth to each other, and they're shorting the stock down. So they were artificially driving the stock down. Now, the coolest part about it was it didn't work. So they lost a crap ton of money. In the meantime, they're already under investigation. Like Robinhood, like seriously, they're about to IPO. Cute.
Not going to work good for him.
Cute. So think about this.
They'll get bailed out.
Think about this. Robinhood as a broker who just screwed over the entirety of Reddit and most of the little people, okay, by stopping trading. So you think Nokia, AMC, BlackBerry, GameStop, right? They're stopping allowing trade on GameStop multiple times. Crushed a lot of folks that had
crushed momentum, yeah.
Bit into that. Yeah. They cost people millions. You know what? I'll even go to say hundreds of millions of dollars, right? When you talk about groups of folks, right? So for real.
Well, it was for their own good, Chris. They were looking out for the little guy.
Yeah.
They were trying to keep him from getting hurt by following these meme stocks.
Right. Yeah, about that. So, so good point. Like, I'm going to take the gun out of your hand, but I'm going to blow a hole in your foot first.
Yeah, I don't want you to shoot yourself in the head, so I'm going to take the gun and shoot you in the leg.
That's right. So, anyway, so where's I going to? Robinhood. Terrible people. They're awful. Oh, they're going to IPO.
Yep.
So they just said they're going to IPO. So here you go. You got a bunch of people who you just screwed out of a ton of money, and you're going to IPO right now in the middle of this storm that you just created. Good luck, pal. Good luck. Anyway,
unless they know there's something else going on, unless they know that like some big hedgie's going to end up buying them or something.
Well, they've got that financial firm. I can't remember what it's called, but they've got that financial firm that they're basically in bed with that have been helping them out this entire time. But anyway, so there's a bunch of shorts on the stock.
There's probably some back end stuff like that going on.
But the coolest part about this is, and this is all public information, you can go out there and look for it, right? You just got to be interested to do it. What they found out between Monday and Tuesday, the amount of shorts that were happening. So there's only a certain amount of stock, right? There's a limited amount of stock. Well, when you look at the stocks, according to a lot of the dumb stuff that I read online, which is probably not true, there was like 1.3 million counterfeit stocks that were created intentionally to short. So these hedge funds are intentionally counterfeiting stocks in order to short at a greater volume than they could, because the diamond hand folks, which are holding on to their stocks, and basically you've got diamond hand, paper hand, right? Diamond hand is you hold on to that stock no matter what your losses are, until you can sell it again. And frankly, listen, if there's any financial advice at all, right? Like it's just, you always hear buy low, sell high, right? But if you buy a stock, like for me, I'm saying at 160, I'm not selling that thing. Period.
Buy the dips.
You never
Don't
sell.
sell.
You never sell on a dip. You never. You keep it, because what you can do is eventually, like if they go out of business, which is totally rare. Like it's rare for that to happen, even though the hedge funds are trying to get them to do it, right? But if they go out of business, if whoever you've got is going out of business, that's an exceedingly rare chance that's going to happen. And if you've got a thriving company like GameStop with all new leadership, with all new money, with new direction and a brand new future,
and a huge influx in stock price,
then you've got a really good chance of that stock going to go back up to where you bought at. But if you sell, you never have, especially if you sell in the red, you never have a chance to make that money back again. You basically you're just handing the money. You're like, here you go, take my stock. I know it's worth $10 now, but you can just have it. So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that.
It's okay. If it makes you feel any better, I don't know where you're going either.
These
but it was
guys
fun.
Were counterfeiting, driving it down, and what's going to happen is like what the theory is that because they've counterfeited so much, the folks that are holding on to the stock, and this is the big secret that nobody wants to hear, if you're not breaking the law, right? If you're equitable and everybody plays by the same rules, if you're not breaking the law, you can only short it so much. But eventually you have to pay back those shorts. You know how a short works? I finally learned this. You know what a short is?
Oh, hit me.
All right, cool. So say the stock is $10, right? And you think it's going to go to $5. Essentially, you go to somebody with the stock and you say, yo, can I borrow your stock? I'm going to give it back. And you're like, okay, you can take it. You're like, okay, I'm going to take your stock. I'm going to make a bet that it's going to go to $5. So you basically sell the stock, and then you buy it back at $5, and then you sell it back, or you give it back to the person you bought it from, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically a short.
And you pocket the difference.
You pocket the difference, but you give the person that the short that you borrowed the short from, you give them a little bit for allowing you to borrow their stock for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is, you actually have to have a piece
That
of
many
paper,
stocks.
right?
You can't
That's
just
there.
make them up.
The stock market is technically, like, you look at it, it's not a fiat currency. There's a finite amount of stocks that a corporation owns.
Yeah.
So when you start,
Yeah, when you said that earlier, I was going to say unlike the U.S. dollar.
right? So when you start counterfeiting in order to shorts,
Mm-hmm.
you're breaking the system and you're breaking the law. And I think that's
Are you breaking the law?
yes, you are.
I mean,
if-
I would think you would be, but apparently these people are getting away with it for how long?
You know, it depends on how much money you're slipping in your lawmaker's pocket, I suppose.
That's a good point.
So that's the big thing, is if you got, as long as you have enough money to own a lobbyist, you're probably fine. But that's the thing, is now you got enough folks that are frustrated about it that now see it. But again, you know, if you look back at the 2016 and the elections with what happened to Bernie and how they put Hillary in and they totally hosed Bernie over in the primaries, which again, he made $170 million or whatever, so he's fine.
He's fine.
But
He's fine. And
but
now
if-
he's going to be the Fed secretary or something like, or
good for him.
Treasury secretary.
with his mittens on.
Something
But if you
like
can
that.
look at that and go, yeah, you know what, the voting system is totally equitable and I totally believe in it, I guess you can believe in the stock market too. Whatever.
What is it? I'm getting it wrong. It's not the Fed secretary. What is it? Help me out here. You can type fast enough. Bernie's new appointment.
She's on it, man.
Bernie Sanders' new appointment.
I think that was it. Yeah,
It
talking
was
about a
something
game.
like that.
So I'm hanging on. Diamond hands to the moon. Papa Elon is still on our side.
Yeah.
He's still helping
He's
us
still
out.
putting out the memes and the tweets.
Oh yeah, he's still helping us out because he believes in GameStop too. And
Budget chairman.
budget chairman.
Budget chairman.
Fantastic. That's
Budget-
great.
Budget.
You know what?
Finally on top of the powerful budget committee.
You know
Yeah,
what?
Sorry. Fed chairman,
You know,
whatever I said.
he should run.
Stupid.
Bernie Sanders. You know
Mhm.
what? He should run for president one of these days. Just saying.
You mean actually run?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, not get thrown out in the primaries every single time because reasons.
Well, I mean, obviously Joe Biden was the superior candidate. He was able to beat the Centaur.
How do you defeat a centaur? I mean, really, if you think about it, how is that done?
Magic missiles.
Magic missiles.
Magic missiles. That's right. Good timing, David.
Are you
Good
saying
timing.
that President Biden is a wizard?
Biden the Gray.
That's in Biden the Gray. That's what it is. All right, I think we're done.
We're done. All right, call
Hey,
it.
thanks for jumping on. Lick the subscribe button and headbutt the like. And
Don't
all
forget
those
to
things
visit our sponsor, Raid Shadowlands Legends.
at
and
expressvpn.com. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day and go kill your friends and Among Us. No, I'm sorry. No.